the Newcastle Go-Kart Club today was important in more ways than one.
Back at the program, all the members know that it's true to be able to name this building for sport and recreation. But during that time that the President, Alan Bryan, your executives...
Go-kart racing is fast and furious at all. There are 7 classes today, with the youngest riders now starting at 7 years old, with the class of 7 to 12. The car's fairly limited on power, but providing some pretty exciting racing and good experience in driving. The class is run by Chris Torres from Sydney. The class is faster, with drivers ages start a little too. 12 to 17-year-olds and confident master some music. Top class, the national class, is run by Robert Williams. More with Dave Racing racing $2,000 for the team.
The road improvement strategy, which has 3 main objectives, is outlined in a brochure now available from the Department of Main Roads. The program aims to produce effective links between the National Highway and Newcastle's road network to improve arterial traffic routes within Newcastle and surrounding areas and to eradicate local traffic problems.
Aspect of it is improvement of the arterial road system in Newcastle itself.
The review carried out by the department indicates the program is not too ambitious.
I think the study that the Minister commissioned showed that the works were possible of achievement in that time, but of course there are always troubles that can arise to delay any project. They can be set back, but let's say if everything goes according to schedule, it is an achievable plan.
What is the major thrust of the improvement program?
Well, I think it's to improve the road system generally in the Newcastle and surrounding areas to a stage where the traffic that's being generated all the time from different areas, both within and outside the city, can be handled into the 21st century.
Flight centres throughout the east coast of Australia were called upon by the Department of Aviation to take part in a wider search and rescue operation. The move was aimed at reducing the response time needed in emergencies. In the past, only major centres have stocked vital equipment. Operators also frequently required briefings. Under the new system, a series of centres, including Aero Pelican and the Cessnock NASA Academy, will have trained and equipped aircraft operators. How pleased is Aero Pelican to have been selected?
Well, we feel it's part of the duty to the aviation community to provide this service. We have been providing it in various forms for quite a long time. We've got an aircraft here that is particularly ideal for both supply dropping and for searching, with a high wing and good visibility from the windows. It's a good search platform with the rear door there that can be opened through which supplies can be dropped. Again, it comes in very handy in that particular role.
Will you be making any special provisions for the search and rescue training?
Yes, we have been advised by the department that they will be having people coming up here in the not too distant future. I haven't got an exact date yet, to provide specific training for some of the tasks that will be involved, such as supply dropping.
Mr. Simpson then asked all interested parties to join him on the inspection. This is what those men Coast Guard operation. The waste material contains cyanide and fluoride. Tank cells will not hold it and mixing will occur. With the drain around the area 500 metres from the proposed dump and the multi-million-dollar oyster industry not too far away at Port Stephens, the motion around the or another mechanic. Aspects of the industry taken into consideration in selecting a winner of the award include staffing, service and facilities. Manager of the Pecolwyn Wine Village Motor Inn, Mr John McBrearty, says awards of this kind can only encourage tourism in the Hunter.
How pleased are you to win the award for the second year running?
Oh, it's magnificent for us, of course. It's a great honour and we're very proud.
How great a boost to the Hunter Valley tourism industry does recognition of this kind provide?
Well, I think that if it can become known that we are now one of the top motels in New South Wales, or showing the top New South Wales motel because of these awards, it's bound to be able to provide incentive for people to come to the Hunter Valley, where previously they may have been away for 3 or 4 years where they haven't been able to stay in a standard such as ours.
Are your sights set on the award for 1985?
We certainly hope so, yeah.
Lions Club of Cardiff would like to present you with these mask suits.
And that's why the Cardiff Lions Club
There you go.
Two suits were donated by the club last night to general duty vehicles at the Cardiff ambulance station. The suit works by compressing the lower half of the body so that the amount of blood going to the heart and brain
There's about
the patient must be left in the suit until he can control the
104
situation such as an operating theatre.
inches of mercury.
The sudden
104
drop of
millimetres.
blood can have a devastating effect. The trousers proved their work last week when they were used on a man with stab wounds to the hip. But ambulance officers say the trousers will be most used
We might just let it off.
This display at the Park Royal Motel was mainly for industries that may be interested in the company's wares, but last night a group of high school students were invited to see the latest in high tech. Most of the equipment is used for testing or quality control. This atomic absorption spectrophotometer is an analytical tool, as Mr Bernard Richardson from Philips explained.
It's very widely used in the analysis of metals, particularly in, for example, the steel industry, where they need to know contaminants or small concentrations of other elements in the steel. It's also required for the analysis of water, because small concentrations of metallic materials in water can be very important, particularly in industrial processes, also important in purification processes, sewage works, where they can affect that purification process. Very important in the medical sphere, because your body functions are very dependent upon very minute amounts of metals in the blood and in the plasma, so that if you do analyses of samples in hospitals, you can make some quite important determinations about the nature of a person's illness or possible illness and diagnose potential diseases.
at the moment I'm spending at least 5 hours in the water a day and training every day, which makes it really good for your surfing.
Now, you're arguably Australia's best amateur surfer at the moment. One may ask, why aren't you turning professional?
Well, at the moment I'm just waiting for the right time and the right moment to go into the professional ranks.
Well, what would be the right time to go in?
Just when everything's right, you know, mentally and physically.
And of course, being an amateur these days, there's more support coming from the government, isn't there?
Yes, well at the moment I'm eligible for a grant of $6,000 over the 2 years if I go to the next World Titles.
So obviously a win for you in Lima is vitally important to your success as a surfer.
Yes, it makes a very big difference if I go well overseas.
Katara looked sharp at practice. They are extra keen to win Saturday's grand final, having gone down in last year's big one against Westlakes. Coach Mark Armstrong is quietly confident his team will overcome GIO City Steelers.
We've worked pretty hard both last season and this season to sort of reach this stage, and the players are mostly young and they've progressed very well up to this stage. We're expecting a tough game. But
yes, they look fairly young. Is it much the same side as they had last year?
Almost exactly the same. Maybe one or two people sort of moved on, but basically the same team.
Yes, well, of course, softball is making great inroads in Newcastle sport at the moment, and obviously the younger brigade is leading it.
Yeah, certainly. This team has an average age of around 15, whereas most of the A-grade sides in town would have ladies virtually in their team, in their late teens and early 20s. So this is a very young team as far as that's concerned.
The roots of the present dispute go back several years to when school enrolments began falling. The Teachers Federation argued that despite this, teacher numbers should be maintained. The ratio of teachers to students would increase, freeing staff for extra services like remedial studies.
The argument is still the same.
There are a few cars around, or are they just the
while some students spent the day at the beach, with striking teachers made at the Broad Meadow Club. Amongst the resolution's part was a rejection of the Education Department's new secondary school staffing formula, which has reduced teacher numbers in some cases dramatically. The Teachers Federation says Bega teacher Dick O'Neill is one of the early casualties. O'Neill was sacked for refusing a transfer, saying it would disadvantage his students. The Federation believes the new staffing formula has been introduced because the government sees the opportunity.
Other thing we're saying, I cannot perceive what value there would be in the meeting you see.
This dispute should have been resolved weeks, almost months ago. There were many opportunities, but the Minister for Education was determined to force a confrontation to distract attention away from the broader staffing issues. We aren't going to let him do that. There'll be a major advertising campaign, including television advertising, beginning next week, which will highlight the government's shortcomings in the area of staffing our high schools.
Today's 24-hour strike did have a positive. Members of the band Torres and Joe used their unexpected day off to play for the Delengo presence for the year. The song, by the way, is a start of the next war.
Westlake Community Radio, FM stereo on 96.5.
That's what you would have heard last night if you'd had your radio tuned to 96.5 on your dial. Westlake Community Radio hopes to get off the ground in the near future, but there are still a few bugs that need to be ironed out. The station, which is being run by the Westlake Amateur Radio Club, still has to get a licence from the Department of Communication, but in the interim it has received permission to test broadcast. The group was testing its equipment last night in preparation for its broadcast at this weekend's Toronto Trade Fair. But what are the long-term objectives of Westlake Community Radio? Mr. Ed Jones.
To serve and hold the community of the West Lakes area as a news, as a part of the community, knowing what's happening in the community. Society today has got too big, and we do feel that identifying with the whole of the Hunter Valley does tend to lose the community spirit, and to get back to being what is the West Lakes people, and this is what community radio in the area will do.
Good morning everyone and welcome. In July of this year we're going to have a very important meeting, summit it's called, with regard to the Australian taxation system, which is in one horrible mess, and I don't apologise for saying so. As I've mentioned from time to time, it's heavily biased and unfairly biased in favour of the tax collector, and you and I are the ones who suffer. Now don't think this tax summit is just for the big boys. You can have your say, and have your say in no uncertain terms and in a variety of ways. Let me give you a couple of illustrations as to just how unfair the tax system is. And let's talk about company dividends. And let's talk about BHP, for example. Now, when BHP makes a profit, it will have to pay tax at the rate of 46 cents in the dollar. Whatever's left after that tax payment has been made can be partly or totally distributed to the shareholders by way of dividends. Now, let's assume, and I'm speaking personally now, that I own shares in BHP as I do, and I receive that BHP dividend, and as I pay tax at the rate of 60 cents in the dollar on my top level of income, not on the total, but on my top level, I am now lumbered with a loss of 60%, without forgetting for one moment that BHP has already paid 46% in taxation. And they say the taxation system's fair? What a load of rubbish. That's the sort of illustration and argument that you should be using in every sense of the word, and that's what I'm going to use. Now, how do you go about it? Well, firstly, and this applies to pensioners, students, small business people, shareholders, you name it. You can do this through the authorised groups like the pensioner organisations. You can also do it through, say, for example, the Australian Taxpayers Association. And you can also do it, and this is a very personal way, of writing to your local Member of Parliament and asking if we do see a new tax act to make sure it's a fair and unbiased one. And when I say fair, I mean fair to the taxpayers of Australia. I'll have more to say about taxation next Monday, but you give some thought to what I just said.
This brought about the water problems. Overnight, a car slammed through the club's fence, breaking a water main in the process. Considerable cleaning up work by club members was necessary, including on the green itself. However, when the plumber came in the early morning to fix the water pipe, he, a member of the Municipal Shire Council Employees Union, found himself called off the job by other unionists picketing the club over an ongoing bar staff dispute. The club's water supply remained cut off. This is just another clash the club has had with the union movement, supporting the 3 liquor trade union members sacked by management a month ago over a rostering dispute. Other effects have been to stop Pelican bowlers playing other clubs, via a threat to withdraw greenkeepers from clubs who play Pelican members. Pelican is claiming a number of forfeits as a result. The Newcastle District Bowling Association meets tonight to discuss this matter. But the Pelican Club seems determined to tough it out against the unions, with members doing everything these days around the club. They continue to ignore an Industrial Commission order to reinstate the sacked workers and will pursue the matter in an upcoming court case.